so much for that introduction, Matt.
Remember who Rory is?
I remember who Rory is. I don't know if I remember the voice I gave her.
We got
All
phones.
the way
We need
back
to auto
in
yell,
book one.
but
So, all right. So as he said, this is a true cold read. I have not read the story yet. Just looking at it, I see that it's third person. And if you guys know the audiobooks, I would usually just use my normal voice for third person. But I also kind of feel like you guys would kind of feel ripped off narrating. So I think I'll do it that way. Anyone have a problem with that?
Nope.
I don't know.
Yes, the only two characters you met are Rory, the two.
Lorelai. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
She's read it.
Okay, here goes. This is backstage at the Pineapple Cabaret. Rory, the goblin Shamaka whispered to herself. Rory. That was her name. Her name. She'd never had a name before. The idea of having one had never even occurred to her. It was hers. Nobody could take it away. Nobody could steal it. Not ever, no matter what they did. She held on to the idea, clutching it against her own chest. Rory. 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 But the presence of this new discovery added questions. Why? Why had it not occurred to Rory that she should have a name? What had they called each other before? She couldn't remember. She banged her head against the wall. Just a little tap, causing her piercings to clink. She did that sometimes to jiggle out the thoughts. Tap, tap, tap. Boss man Damien had a name. Some of the protected ones, like Tiatha, Glennis, Mordecai, Helix, they had names. Food's Room, Bacchus had names. Why was she just a number? And not just the same number, but a moving one? When the magical words appeared, when the boss man spoke with her, her reply would give her an ever-changing designation. Numbers and symbols she didn't understand. One of the engineers had once suggested that the numbers changed based on where she was standing when she responded. Later, when she tested it, she thought maybe he'd been right. She felt bad afterward. The engineer hadn't even been that delicious. Maybe if he'd had a name, she wouldn't have eaten him. Maybe he would have started bathing. Names were important. All around her, the others sat in a haze of smoke. Their raid against the Llama Cartel had been one of those okay that could have gone betters. While they'd successfully raided their processing lab and stolen their stash, a group of llamas had moved into Goblin territory during the attack and killed the chieftain along with all the younglings and all the oldlings and all the pregos. Not good. Blown them right up. So, Rory and the others had been forced to retaliate and do a whole lot of murdering of the llamas. Not just a raid, but a full-on, scorched dungeon campaign. They'd driven a bunch of the murder dozers right up to the Kingpin's cavern and blown it all up with funpowder. Murdoch had kicked the Kingpin in the eggs, and Lorelei had cast "Does this look infected?" on him. Rory was planning on taking a bite out of his llama grandma just to drive the whole "don't fuck with our clan" thing home, but she'd been too distracted by their haul. By the time she was ready to do the chomp, the walls were doing that spinning thing. So the llama grandma had gotten away unbitten. That was okay, Rory decided. The llama kingpin was dead. The production facility was done. The clan had the stash. And now they were sitting in the burned to a crisp remains of their workshop, reaping the spoils of their conquest. And by reaping the spoils, she meant tearing through the llama's meth and the llama's weed and the llama's blitz sticks like a pack of rabid blender fiends. They'd looted enough to keep the whole family floating until level collapse. Part of her registered she should be upset about the death of the younglings. That's why they did this, wasn't it? They fought to impress the boss man, and when he was sufficiently wowed by their crawler-killing skills, they'd move on to the second floor. And then they'd move to the third, then the fourth, and so on. The deeper they went, the safer they'd be. Never mind what that ratkin shaman had once said to her, that the deeper mobs had their thinkers scrambled, that they didn't know they were in the dungeon. They didn't even know what the dungeon was, that they didn't have continuity from one season to the next. The deeper floors were different every time, so the monsters had to change too. They were like the empty fun powder sacks filled up with different stuff each time. But did that matter? Maybe that would be better, Rory thought. Maybe they wouldn't be so afraid all the time. Maybe it would be nice to not to know where they really were. Now the younglings were dead. The Pregos were dead. There was no more clan. No more family, except who was left in the room. It would be nice to forget. To be an empty sack refilled with a new thinker that didn't know about that room right there filled with the dead. Sober Rory would be especially upset about all this, she knew. So the solution was easy. Don't be sober. But even shaky Rory was starting to do the bad type of thinking. She kept seeing the chieftain, who was worried all the time, him and that one youngling, the one with the yellow dress and the ribbon on her head and the gap between her teeth, the one who already knew how to cast Keister Blaster. Keister Blaster. Rory liked the way the youngling giggled when she cast the spell at a dumb, regular goblin. The little girl never had a name. It didn't seem right.
No.
Rory thought.
No sad thoughts.
She needed to stay away from the Blitz, which helped relive memories.
No. I have a name now. I need to be celebrating.
She turned to a bombard who sat to her left, leaning up against the wall. He had a piece of dynamite on his lap, and between hits, he was in the process of tying a llama steak to the dynamite. He would throw the stick to cook the steak. Those bombards always liked their foods cooked, and in really small portions.
I have a name. My name is Rory.
Rory said to him.
Yeah, I ain't got a name.
The bombard said.
How do I get one?
Someone's gotta give it to you. Princess Donut gave me my name.
The bombard seemed to think on this for a little bit.
Can you give me one?
Rory also thought about this.
Yes. You have a name now. Your name is Meat Stick.
Yeah, it is.
Said Meat Stick. He started wrapping a potato around the other side of the stick of dynamite. Rory looked across the way at the other shamanka, Lorelei, who was in the process of kicking a regular goblin who'd lost his pineapple stick during the raid. The pineapples were hard to find, and they were important too. She couldn't remember exactly why they were important, but they were. One couldn't just lose them and not get kicked.
Lorelei!
Rory called.
We're giving everyone names. You do that side of the room, I'll do this side.
Lorelei nodded. She turned back to the goblin, who was curled on the floor, sobbing.
Your boot print, maggot.
Bootprint Maggot looked up, smiling big. He was missing several teeth. Thank you, he said. She kicked him again. She then pointed to another goblin who'd lost his pineapple stick.
You're next.
Next, put his hands together. Thank you, Lorelei. This was all interrupted when the magic words appeared in Rory's interface. Damien, you idiots aren't supposed to attack neighboring quads, not unless the crawlers go with you. I am much too busy to deal with this bullshit. Don't let it happen again.